Okay, all rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez. Absent. Councilwoman Eckhart.
Here.
Councilman Larker.
Here.
Councilman Lord.
Here.
Supervisor Hay.
Here. Notation of the exits in the front and the rear and the electronic device, please put it on vibrate. Okay, first item on the agenda this evening is public hearing for Chapter 71, explosives and blasting. I make a motion to go into public hearing and we waive the reading of the minute.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone here this evening to discuss the explosive and blasting resolutions, the local law? Lynn, do you want to touch on it briefly and tell them what the quick changes were?
Sure. The changes are mostly going to be that we're going to notify those within 1,000 feet of the blast, which is a lot different than it used to be. Thank you. There will be no blasting anymore on Saturdays, Sundays, or legal holidays. We are raising, it will be from 8 to 5 during the weekdays. We will be raising insurance to $1 million or $2 million aggregate. Our code was a little archaic because if there were problems with the blasting, the town board would revoke the permit and would then hold a hearing, which, as Will said, told us that would not, it wouldn't be good law and wouldn't probably stand up in court, and we'd have to get the board together. So it was very unwieldy, so that will be changed till the building inspector may revoke any permit. And we do have a definition of explosives, which is very standard. I know it's used in many local town laws. The two I got were, I believe, Phillipstown and North Salem, so that would just be added in to be more explicit. And I think that covers everything. Can you think of anything I forgot?
No, you mentioned the holidays, right?
Yep, no holidays.
Yeah, I think you said it would put it more in the building department's purview.
Yes, it will be the building department's purview. It will not be, I mean, we've never even exercised that option, and it was very unwieldy, and as Will said, he didn't think it would pass muster if it was challenged. So I think these are all good. I think these are good, solid changes that really make sense, and will protect our residents more. But I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has, if I can, or...
Anyone from the public? We've probably had this at least 3 times in front of the board. Actually, we started a public hearing and found out it wasn't noticed properly.
Correct.
Seeing no comment, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the agenda this evening was a presentation for Excellence and Equity Award by New York State Office of Real Property Tax Services, Mr. Stephen Hartnett. Unfortunately, he can't be here. I was asked before I came in, like, didn't that just happen like a couple months ago? Lori, you get so many of these, and the town gets so many of these, we're losing track. So he's not able to be here this evening. He did he provide the copy for you? I have the original. Okay, so we do have it. Like we said in the past, I'm not going to give a bigger office to hang any more plaques, so find space. So just tell him thank you. We appreciate all that you do for the town and working on behalf of the taxpayers. Anyone else?
No, thank you, Lori, and I really do think this is keeping us at 100%, and everything is really a service to our residents. It's much easier for them to understand and to grieve when they need to grieve, which we hope is rare, but I think, I really appreciate the work on this.
Okay. Okay, I make a motion now to go into the work session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
First item on the work session tonight is discussion 577 North Main Street. It's a special permit for the public's knowledge. 577 North Main Street is past Kobackers. It's on the left-hand side. It's that big, ugly building. And it's going under some big renovations, and it's looking a lot better. They're spending some good money. And he's here tonight to talk to the town board about a special permit. Town board have provided you with
The site plan.
site plan for that? Mr., would you get up to the mic there? State your name for the record. We all know you, but the public doesn't.
Good evening, Supervisor, council people. Bart Lansky for applicant 577 North Main LLC.
You can lower that mic.
Okay, thanks. So we submitted an application for a special use permit for a motor vehicle service station to the planning board, who received the application, reviewed it, found it to be in harmony with the neighborhood, and referred it here. By way of introduction, the property has 3.6 acres and has 3 buildings. Building 1 faces North Main, and we are in the process of beautifying that. Behind Building 1 sits, and Building 1 is from 1947. This was the Hayes Seed Company. Building 2 sits behind that, and Building 3 sits behind that, and that's a Quonset hut, also from 1947. Looks like an airplane hangar, and it's a metal structure originally used by the Seed Company for their distribution. For the past 10 years, I believe, it's been used, part of it has been used by Brewster Taxi, also known as Express Taxi, and they did have other people working in there. At this point in time, it's just them, and they do their maintenance on their fleet there. I believe they have 12 to 14 taxis, and they do general maintenance on those cars, and we're here to legalize that use, and obviously the board has the power to grant that. I provided just an aerial so you can see that we back up to Tenetta Lake and Metro North and kind of their service yard, and so it's one of the few places in Southeast where any noise, we wouldn't really be affecting anybody, and we are taking the extra effort to beautify the property. And so we'd like to make that use legal and make everybody happy with its use.
Now, I know you've been in front of the planning board, that's why you're here this evening, and they raised a concern, which was my biggest concern as well, when it became an auto repair shop, so to speak. And I did check with I saw the question asked by the planning board, and I called New York State myself to find out they are allowed to work on their own vehicles. So my concern, which was the planning board concern, and maybe it's the town board's concern, how can you almost guarantee to us that's all they're gonna do there, work on taxi cabs on their own volition, not for other taxi cabs within the town and other private cars? How can you say you can guarantee that to us?
Well, you can condition the special use permit, and you can say that there'll be no vehicles outside the building being worked on, and that it won't be open to the general public.
And what would be the penalty if the person starts to do that?
Well, your typical code penalty is the building inspector would send us back here, and you'd have a right to revoke the special use permit because we'd be in violation of one of the conditions.
Okay, and you are willing to go with that?
I'm okay with those 2 conditions.
Okay. Because I am concerned, there's people that do repairs at their homes and things of that nature. If things are slow, maybe they'll take on other work, and we don't want that to happen. It was not designed, that, even though we came in during the zoning, et cetera, it wasn't designed for that initially.
I understand that, and frankly, we're trying to get away from having the general public in there. We're trying to get away from having people changing oil and doing things which are dirtier for the property. So I'm happy to have those conditions there, and I'll be the first line of contact, and I'll be there. So I don't expect any issues.
Okay, Lynn?
All right, I've learned enough in my 7.5 years on the board that enforcement is a nightmare. And so my concern is not necessarily that Brewster Taxi takes in local people or their friends, but other taxi companies. It would be very hard even for an owner, I think, to enforce, especially if they're under 2 names now. Is there a lift in that Quonset hut?
There is.
There is a lift, okay.
There might be. I can't remember if there's 1 or 2, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to come over and take a look at some point if that would be okay with you.
I'd be happy to meet you whenever it's convenient.
And my other concern, maybe it's too late, but is Tenetta Lake Brook runs close to there?
There is a wetland which is 99% off of my property. There's a
Right.
tiny bit. We had the town's wetland consultant, Mr. Coleman.
Right.
I walked the property with him. I had the wetland flagged. We submitted maps. And he recommended, as part of our planning board process, to do certain mitigatory things. And we've done those. And we're looking to do best practices.
Okay. And I want to thank you for the work you've done, so I don't want to push that aside, because I think it's really been helpful and it's going to look much, much nicer. But I do have these concerns, so I would love to stop. Are you there?
I'm there a lot lately. I saw Mr. Ward there on a Sunday.
John told me, so,
I'm there a lot. We're anxious to get the place. There's a lot of deferred maintenance there, which I'm trying to address all at once.
Okay. And as I said, and Tony made it clear, there was concern, as you know, on the planning board about this. It was kind of, the last thing we need is another repair shop, or what if it expands? So, that's where I stand right now. I really am concerned about enforcement and getting it back to us for a special permit. There have been other properties that have gotten special permits, and then people forget the next round of town board members and doesn't remember, and it's kind of a nightmare. So with that in mind, I will make an effort and stop by, and you can
Okay, yeah.
show me everything if that works for you.
I would be happy to show you around.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, anything we do a special permit, if you ever sell the building, it would go perpetually with the building as long as it's in place.
Yeah, it does go with the building. That is part of your code.
Right.
As long as you're willing to sign this agreement, I might even ask for a little special area where you're going to initial that you've been made aware that if you do this, this is what's going to happen.
Just have a quick question. Are all the cars for Express Taxi lettered?
I believe the majority of their cars are lettered. I know there are one or two vehicles. I've seen a white Lincoln Navigator, which I think they send to the airport. So I want to say yes, but I don't. My hunch is that there's one or two vehicles which are not lettered.
Well, they operate in the village. They do have, the village has a local law that they have to adhere to, do they not?
I have never researched that. I don't know.
The reason I ask is, yeah, so I would think any car that's being worked on there would be lettered, and that would just be help with the enforcement perhaps, but.
Well, sometimes if they have a vehicle, like he was trying to say, if it's going down to the airports, they don't like to have that on there. They have livery plates which are required, but not necessarily whatever. They might have a plaque that they put on the roof that can be taken off, a magnetic sign on the side.
So then it should, at a minimum, have livery plates then?
It has to, by
Yeah.
law.
So any car in there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easier to constrain the public from entering there than to try to constrain what vehicles they have. Maybe one hasn't been lettered yet. I think we've come up with a couple of good conditions, and I understand the board's concerns, and I'm happy to kind of go with those. Despite the fact that I practice law, I practice it narrowly, as almost everyone has to these days. So I have no idea of the TLC rules in New York City, nor what the village rules are specifically, and I don't want to piggyback on them if I don't have to.
Well, Westchester has the most restrictive. In other words, going through Westchester County, like you can't go from Putnam down to Westchester Airport without a Westchester sticker. But that's not up to us, up to you. That's up to the TLC in Westchester, and of course, the airport's going to the city. Again, I wouldn't say you drive the beat-up ones around here, but if you have a limo service and you're trying to have a limo service, you got a nice-looking car that's going down there, it may not have the words express, or, we're not advertising for anyone in particular, by the way. And whatever the taxi company is actually identified on the side or on the top.
And they currently park there now?
What happens now is they're not parking in front of the Quonset hut. There are a couple of taxis which park in the general parking lot up top by North Main, and when a driver comes in, he'll leave his car there, and then he'll take the taxi. And there tends to be 2 or 3 vehicles within the Quonset hut. There tends to be a mechanic there 3 days a week. But I can't promise you that they're going to stay at 12 taxis and it's not going to be 15,
Right,
or but I can promise you, if we condition it, that they won't work on anything outside, and that all work will be contained within the Quonset hut, and it'll only be their own vehicles. It would have to be a common ownership.
Right, and we could, I know with this area, it might seem odd, but we could, with a special permit, also limit hours of operation.
You have that authority,
Right.
yes.
So,
What hours are you looking for? Do you have any specific hours? I mean, do you want to go from like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or,
I'm fine with 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
oh, I'm too liberal?
ain't much.
Come on, I was in business once. You gotta make money while the sun shines.
I was too.
Yeah, but you weren't in the taxi business.
No, I was.
Frankly,
Well, that's not true either, because you know what, you have 24-hour service. What happens then?
They-
Oh, only to repair the vehicles.
there's a,
I'm
there-
talking about repair, not
I
park.
think a dispatcher doesn't work there, and that's kind of separate, but we're in one of the few locations where somebody pulling in and driving out, there's no headlight issue, there's no real noise issue. Metro North is there, their service yard, they're there all the time, all different hours. So we're really not impacting anyone. That said, if you want, you have the right to prescribe the hours as you see fit. And if 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. pleases the board, we're willing to accept
Well,
that.
I'm not sure what pleases the board. Some probably don't want you open at all, but I mean, it could be
What, no, what
to
hours are
6, 8 at night?
what hours are they working now, for
I
example?
think that 6 to 6 is probably
Pretty accurate?
pretty accurate.
Okay, well, we'll consider all that, but that might be part of it, you know, so.
If we, is there a certain square footage that this company has, and is part of it defined by the repair section?
So the Quonset hut is approximately 5,500 square feet. And
Okay.
if you look at that aerial I put there, you can see a markered section. And they occupy half of that Quonset hut, which is approximately 2,750 square feet.
And all of that is service area?
Yeah, the Quonset hut it's a metal structure.
Right.
So, and it has a little bit of spray insulation, but it's certainly not office space. It's workspace. They have one mechanic, and he works 3 or 4 days a week, and he tends to be the only person in there. But that's
So-
what exists today. But obviously, by the approval, I'd like it so if Express Taxi isn't there, and there's another person who's doing fleet maintenance who has a few vehicles, as long as they stay inside, this is a use which is hard to find a home for. And so I think this property is well suited for it.
So you would be possibly coming back for another special permit for another person to come in there with their, another
No,
fleet?
I think the special use permit is not
Company specific.
company specific. And so
Okay.
what I was saying is, I'm trying not to circumscribe this because owner is planning on being owner for a long time, and
but
this is,
you only want it for the specific, a specific Cub. In other words, right now you have Brewster Taxi, Tony's Taxis, Lynn's Taxi. It's only going to be for one specific, they're not going to be doing all the other taxi cab companies.
no, it's only for,
One company.
it's only for vehicles which are owned by the tenant. Okay? So
Whichever
under
vehicle-
common ownership. That I have no issue with. We're not looking to have the general public in there. But what I was saying was that if Brewster Taxi disappears and there's another taxi company who wants to do the
XYZ
same
comes
thing.
in. XYZ comes in. But XYZ and Brewster Taxi would not cohabitate and fix the vehicles.
Correct.
Okay.
But we could define the space should be limited to half the Quonset hut.
Yes.
And that could be a condition of the special permit, not to have other fleets or other similar uses or similar owners there having another, I guess, vehicle maintenance.
Okay.
I wouldn't want the whole Quonset hut to become a vehicle maintenance if it's not what it is now.
It's not what it is now.
So what are you saying then? What, you said, was it 20, how many?
2,750 feet, or what's the existing space for this tenant?
How much?
2,200.
2,750.
27.
Oh, I thought you
Oh,
said.
right.
Okay.
Sorry.
55.
Yeah.
Okay, so it could, would it be
And then
realistic?
someone's going to have to go in there with a ruler, so that's where you go back to,
Would it be
So-
realistic to find out the number of cars presently serviced?
Well, I asked the gentleman.
Okay.
And I believe that their fleet of cars is around 12 to 14. My visual inspection suggests that there's one guy there 3 days a week. He tends to be working on, have one or two or three cars in there at a time. And he's doing general maintenance, brakes and tires and things like that. He's not a auto body guy. He's not someone replacing engines. It's just fluids and what have you.
outside storage, how many spaces are you being allowed there for outside storage? For just-
That's a
just-
separate application. So outside
No, but
storage,
I'd like to know, what is that number? I mean, if you're successful and you got 12 cabs now and business gets, another cab company goes out and they go from 12 to 16 vehicles, we don't want to limit you to 12.
Well,
So,
so your question sort of jumps into the larger zoning pool, right? And so now we're talking about the fact that I have 33,000 square feet and that I have all these different uses and what are my parking requirements for those uses and do I have enough parking? I think the application before you really is
Special permit.
special use permit for a motor vehicle service station. And the application, we're suggesting these conditions, which nobody's working on cars outside. But the general parking, that involves the whole site and is kind of a more complex question.
it may be complex, but I would just like an answer. In other words,
Okay.
if you have a taxi cab company,
Yes.
I mean, you go by any of these repair shops in the town, okay, there's a lot of vehicles sitting outside waiting to go in to be fixed, okay? So, when you have a lease with this person, they have a lease for the 2,700 square feet, do you assign them a certain amount of spaces for outside, or is it they can take up all of them?
Frankly, this owner inherited this use. Right now, we're currently having a verbal lease and was waiting for the approvals here before we entered into a formal lease. I would likely put a map there and show that he can only use a certain area, and I'm expecting it's the area just outside the Quonset hut, which would have around 8 or 10 parking spots. He's never had more than a couple cars inside at a time he's working on. The other ones are taxis when they're not in use. So there's been 5 or 6 cars there at a certain time with this tenant.
Now, is this site just for repair only? Now, where do they have a main headquarters where they park the additional taxis that aren't being repaired?
They're,
Or is this their main headquarters?
this is, I guess, their main headquarters. I mean, we're not talking about a large company.
12
They-
taxis is pretty large.
They have, the majority of taxis are on the road, and then there'll be a few which are being maintained, and there'll be a couple which are in the lot in between drivers. And that's what I've seen. Owner, which I have a beneficial interest in, we've been there since March 1. And in that period of time, that's what I've seen.
Okay.
They
We just want
probably
to show you
park-
where it's toughest to plan the board, that's all.
They probably park along Railroad Avenue in those spaces too when they're running.
Well, I don't have a problem with the running, just at nighttime. I mean, there's a concern, I know, amongst the public about the number of vehicles outside storage.
Right.
Okay,
We're not trying to, I mean, we need, it's a question, so I don't have a problem with it,
thank you.
but it should be asked. And I would put something in the lease so they don't go overboard on you, but that's beside the point. It's your property. Okay, now, I'm going to give you a choice, and I hope you take choice number 2. In July, we're only going to actually have one meeting. We have a fireman's parade on July 25th. We're having a meeting this evening. Next week would be too early. So our next meeting is July 11th, and I'm going to ask you, is time of the essence on this, or can you wait until August 1st to be told yes or no?
Frank-
Only because I want to have an opportunity to town attorney to put together the plan, so to speak, what the special permit is going to say, have the town board an opportunity to review what it says, and have you have a chance to review it to see if, we're trying to work together about what it exactly says. Now, if you say July 11th, it might get put off to whatever, so
It sounds like August 1st is the...
Is that a good date for
is the
you?
appropriate date. Either date is fine with me. The impetus here was the property was subject to a lot of deferred maintenance, and the town started enforcing, and I've inherited a stipulation with the town. And so we're supposed to bring it in compliance, because that's what the previous owner was supposed to do. And so I'd like to do that as expeditiously as possible, but I'm sure
Well,
that
we got the holiday coming up, and I'm not blaming holidays, but the fact is, time is of the essence, but it's not. Again, when we write it up, I'm going to give you an opportunity to review what we're writing up a special permit and pass it amongst the town board. Now, someone may say no, someone may say questionable, but if I know I got 3 people that will support what's written there, and we put it forward, we want it either to pass or fail miserably. So,
Okay.
if you wait till August
I can-
1st, we will give you the opportunity to review what we've stated here tonight, pretty much. Not everyone's going to be in agreement, okay? But if you give it that time, we'll give you the opportunity to review what we write up, give the town attorney the opportunity to get it written up, and on August 1st, you'll know yay or nay.
Thank you. August 1st sounds good, and thank you.
Okay? So we'll put
I'll
this off
stop
till that time.
Okay?
Okay?
Thank you.
And-
Thank you.
I will stop
Anyone?
by.
Wonderful.
Okay.
I'll send you my contact information.
Okay, you have my email, I think.
I do.
right? Okay, fantastic.
Thanks a
Thanks,
lot.
Mr. Lance.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Next item will be discussion on water and sewer district analysis here in the town. Okay. One's for Will. 1, 2, 3 going that way. One's for Edwin. Mark one up for Edwin. Okay. I don't know how I got into this, but I did. We have in the town numerous water and sewer districts. Blackberry Hill has water and sewer. Brewster Heights has water and sewer. Peach Lake, sewer only. Birch Hill, water only. Fox Hill, water only. Hillcrest, water only. Mountain Brook, water only. Peaceful Hill, water only. Spring House, water only. Star Ridge, water only. Now, the first quarter of this year, Peaceful Hill went online as an entity on its own. They had been getting their water from the village for many years at a particular rate. Once the plant went in, we have now capital cost and O&M. So it changed things. When people got the bill, we had public hearings, identified what the cost it would be. Some people, I wouldn't say were shocked at the price, but, you know, our bigger problem was there's some people that have more than one family, they have what they consider a multifamily. There's not many. We've discovered there was actually quite a few in Peaceable Hill. Now, what we uncovered by doing that, we found people that are being charged different rates, and we couldn't identify the reason why. I went back into the 70s when the district was first formed, and there's really no rules and regulations. So when I was looking into Peaceful Hill, I said, well, let's look into the other one. And I have to thank Chris, my secretary, who's probably googly-eyed by this time because we're going through a lot of numbers, and there's a couple of things that don't make sense. So what I'm going to tell you tonight is I'm just going to point out some discrepancies, and I believe what we're going to have to do as a town board is we're going to have to identify in each district what the rule and regulations are. Now, let me use Peaceful Hill as the main example to start and tell you why. In Peaceful Hill, we found properties that were vacant, that are actually, all the properties in Peaceful Hill pretty much are in the water district per se. But there were 2 that have wells that weren't even in the district according to our records. We identified who they are. We have people that have wells that are being charged like kind of a capital cost from the old days, not even the new days. And it was kind of should I call it a mess? I'll call it a mess. So at any rate, I think what we're going to have to determine, if someone like Peaceful Hill, if there's a vacant piece of property and a person comes in the future, what do they pay toward the capital cost? So anyone there now, it's a 20-year note that gets paid off. Everyone's charged a certain amount of money each month. Now, if a person comes in 5 years from now and they want to go into the system, they should be paying something toward what the cost was. It's a $3.5 million, actually $3.6 million plant. We have to make a determination. Now, right now, I did not find in any of the districts identifying how the charges originated. They did a good job, don't get me wrong, but there's a couple of people and properties that slipped through the cracks. So, in Peaceful Hill, we have a property has no well, it's vacant property, but they're being charged $695 a month. Another property is being charged, same similar type property, is being charged $1389 a month. Two properties that have wells or are not even identified in the district who pay nothing. Another person with a well is paying $2778. So we have $1389, $2778. Now, this is not going to make or break anybody. But I'm going to tell you right now, if a person's in the district and they have a well, they're saying, why would I be paying toward the district? And because at some point in time, their well could go dry, they could have a problem with their well, and they're in the district. And they can hook up at any point in time. So, why the average person is paying $395 a quarter to be in the district, these people are not using the well or their vacant land, and they're paying a small amount, which I don't have a problem with the number, but they got to be consistent. So why is one person paying $1389? Why is one person paying $2778? And why is someone else paying nothing? So what we have to determine is what's the number going to be. We found 3 properties that were directly on village water. The first house on the left going up Peaceful Hill after the bridge, and the 2 homes on Riverside Drive, they were paying $99.96 to the village. The other people and Peaceful Hill had a fixed rate, so to speak. Now, when the first bills went out, everyone was charged the normal, I think it was $195 before, but now it's $395. Those 3 were charged the old rate. So they're in the district now. Now, even though they were in the district before, they're not in the district because somehow they got water directly from the village. It's kind of convoluted. I can't explain it, can't find the records. So, but they are in the district and they're part of the district now. So what I'm going to do is to come up with some kind of a number. The $395 is what the quarterly charge is. So those 3 homes are not going to be happy campers because they're going to come in now and they're going to be going up about $300 a month. But they were getting a break for many, many years. You got a question on that?
I do. Have you spoken to Will about this?
Kind of.
Okay, because I thought that once a new system is put in, that everyone in the district was required to pay the capital cost.
That's why we're doing this.
Right, but okay, so, but proposed on some of these is 0,
What?
or $25, or, I mean, a real modest fee, right?
Well, again, that's what we have to discuss.
Right,
If a property is vacant, right now, they're being charged nothing.
Right.
So now at $695, is it 0 or is it $25? And it may not be 25. We have to come up with some kind of a plan. And whatever it is, we have to make it consistent with all the water districts in the town.
Yes.
If it's vacant, it's still owned by someone, right?
Yes, they do. And
But
vacant
that
land,
person should be contributing to the capital cost because they're going to, when they sell it or if they do occupy it, they will have benefited from people paying into that while they didn't.
and that's why we're doing this.
So I don't think 0 should be,
But, you know what?
okay, fine.
I put 0
right?
there because we don't know what the number is.
Thank you.
It could be 0, it could be 25, it could be 1,000.
Good.
But we have to come up with something and be consistent. Now, each district in the town have different rates. The most expensive one, of course, is Springhouse. I think, I don't know who's the second most expensive. I don't have it by second most expensive. But there's all varying rates with this.
Right.
So this is just round 1 to let you know this is coming down the pike.
This is great.
I'm going to work with Will. This took, we didn't do work on it full-time, but we've been doing this for 3 months. And even today, we found 2 that we didn't have before, and it gets very confusing. Now, with Peach Lake, with the sewer district down there, they go by bedrooms, okay? And others don't. So everyone has their own rate. So I'll make this better for next time. This is just the first shot across the bow. And we're not going to make the second quarter billing. The second thing, too, was about the number of homes that have additional units and what they're paying. We found out everyone was being charged a second unit. So if one unit was $395, if you had an accessory apartment, you were also being charged a second $395. But what we found is when they were paying the second charge, they were not being given the credit for the 5,000 gallons of water. So those people will experience a $50 savings in their bills the next time. And I'll talk to, they're gonna go out, but they should be getting the credit which they weren't getting. So it was, I won't say it's a mess, but it was a lot of work. We went, and when we did one, we ended up going to all the other ones. So I'm gonna come back to you, probably maybe next time. We'll have a better idea, and then we, the board, will have to determine how do we do it. I'm gonna tell you what the capital cost will be. Now, something like Peaceful Hill and Springhouse were new. I mean, to pay $3.6 million for water systems, a lot of money. And if it's a vacant property, there's got to be a fairness to it, and we got to be consistent. But again, the bottom line, how much they pay per month will vary, because Peaceful Hill has, I forgot how many units, quite a few.
So,
I'd say 144, 100,
154.
yeah, because that's
Counting is
because it's
140.
double, but the units themselves are 144 if you count the two families.
Right.
So I'm going to come back to you with numbers, but I'm just telling you now, we have to do something to have a consistent plan for each district. So if someone moves in, moves out, now from time to time, at one point in time, Blackbird Hill took on 6 units in that other development at that time, it was court ordered. So if they come on in the future, what will they pay? So if you pay nothing now, do they pay $10,000 for hooking a well? So let's say a person on Peaceful Hill has a well now, and the well goes dry, and they want to hook up to the system. They're entitled to because they're in the system. Do they come in for nothing? That wouldn't be right. Everyone else is paying, $395.
Yeah.
So what do they pay? Is it going to be fair? We have to have something, got to be consistent, it's got to be in writing, so generations from now, when they say, well, how did they do this? They can go to this town board and say, look at those fools, what they did. They made it so it works. But no one's going to be happy whatever we do.
I'd be happy to lend my Excel skills to this project if you'd like.
So,
Excel.
oh, do you think this is bad? No.
No.
Okay.
Tony, thank you, and thank Chris for doing this.
Yeah, thank you.
It's really a lot of work. I would also say that what I've seen in Peaceable Hill happen is some people had subdivided property, vacant land, but it really couldn't be developed. And that's different too. I mean, no one, I'm not saying they shouldn't pay anything, but we should have and I agree completely that we need to be consistent.
But there's
just to
not,
take it.
the good thing is there's not many of those.
Okay, good.
Okay, there's maybe one or, and again, that's why we have 0. I mean, nothing's been there. Again, whatever we do, again, the only thing that will change between any of the district is the amount that they pay, because there's a certain amount of people contributing. I think up where you are, there's 54 units? 54, Peaceful Hill is 100. It says 144, but there's actually 152, counting the 2 families. It's only one house, so we count one tax map number, so to speak.
Okay.
So this is about, like I said, this is about 3 months of work. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. We've been working with Ron and Helena as well to make this consistent. So I think by the next time we put it forward, and then we have to discuss as a board what we do. Now, the one that I thought was really nuts is Brewster Heights. Now, I lived in Brewster Heights since it was way back when it first came in Brewster in 1957. And down along Putnam Avenue, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, there's 8 properties that are in the sewer district, and they pay $11.80 a quarter. It's not a lot of money, but I'm going to tell you right now, I don't ever see them going into the district. And I want to find out how and why they made these properties in a district. Now, the water district and the sewer district in Brewster Heights are different. And I'm trying to find out through the records, and I can't find how they determined why there was a water district and the sewer lines are different. Didn't make sense to me.
So they're not connected to the sewer district?
No,
Does this have anything to do when Metro North went into the district?
nah.
No?
No, this, no, no,
Because
this
that
was,
was, I
this was done,
remember,
this was done when they drew up the district for Brewster Heights, these properties. Now, look, I'm just one of fairness.
It's all Putnam Avenue, yeah.
Yeah, I don't, so when you're on Putnam Avenue, if you're coming down from Beechers or on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
almost all the homes on that right-hand side, including Migan Screw Products, all those businesses are in the sewer district, but they're not hooked up to the sewer. I don't see them ever getting hooked up to the sewer.
And they're paying?
Yeah, but that's the way it works. If you're in the district,
Right.
they charge. That's something we have to determine how we do it. But what happens here, we have one just recently where we allowed a person to go into the Blackberry Sewer District. Now, when he came in, he was charged a certain amount of money to enter into the district. Now, personally, I think it was a very low number, okay? Because the other people have been paying on it for 20 and 30 years, and when he came in, now he thinks it's a lot of money, because overall, what he has to pay to do the groundwork and the laying of the pipes and things of that nature. But we have to be consistent, we have to have something in writing, so when a person comes in, they'll have an idea. And again, should you take someone out? That's gonna be a decision to make. I would lean toward taking them out and putting them in if they have to go back in sometime in the future. But they're in the district, they're paying from now until forever. These people have probably been paying for well over 20 years, but, so, it's gonna take a little more work, and we can't find anything to point us in the direction. And what happens down in Peach Lake, by the way, there's a lot of renovation of those homes. A lot of people are now, since they have sewers and they're not affecting the lake, they're going from 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom or 3-bedroom to 4-bedroom. And those have changed, but our records have not kept up with those changes.
Right.
So when we do this, we'll also pass a resolution, asking the various, the building department and everything, the assessor, everyone, if you get any kind of a change to any of the districts, that they have to notify the accounting department so those changes could be made. Because we're finding things that should have been changed, a while back, and it didn't happen. So we're just out to correct the system. So next time, I'll be a little more exact. I mean, this is you couldn't believe, I feel bad for Helena. She can't get any work done because I keep going back to her every 5 minutes.
That's a lot of work.
Is Levon helping you with this?
Well, Levon gave us the numbers, but Levon inherited the numbers. No one knows where the numbers came from. I mean, they have the number of parcels. I said, they don't know. There are a certain amount of parcels, but
Right.
some parcels are counted once, some are counted twice, it's got a 2-family, some drop off. And again, you can see by here, some people are in the district and don't pay, and some people with wells do pay. Everyone's got to be treated equally.
Yeah.
And whatever we do, no one's going to be happy. So until the next time, which will be the next meeting, we'll come forward and do it a little more. And definitely before the third quarter billing, we have to have something in place for the future. Good enough?
Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to the regular meeting. I waive the reading. I make a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, waive the reading of the correspondence.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approval of the voucher list, $726,630.77. So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, this is complicated. Ready? All meetings will be held at 1360 Route 22, Brewster, New York, at 7 p.m. unless otherwise noted. Now, usually we try to have the first and third Thursdays, but this month, because the Brewster Firemen's Parade will be held on
25th.
the 25th?
Fifth, yep.
We're not going to have a meeting that night because I know most of us would like to attend the parade, So here's the bottom line. Thursday, July 11th, 2019 will be our next meeting, okay? And in a few minutes, I'm going to ask to set a public hearing to amend Chapter 138, number 5414 and 54 about the ZBA.
Oh, ZBA, yes.
Going from 10 days to 60 days. So the public's not confused. I'm just going to read what we're going to do and not what we're not going to do, okay? So Thursday, July 11, 2019, and then Thursday, August 1st, 2019. And so everyone can plan their summer. The next one after that will be Thursday, August 29th, 2019. So the next 3 town board meetings are going to be July 11th, August 1st, and August 29th.
Okay.
Is
Great.
everyone
Good.
in agreement with that?
I'm fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Budget transfers, ready to do reading. Then we have, okay, number 5 is a resolution to Board of Assessment review position appointment to fill unexpired term. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Southeast hereby appoints Terrence McArdle to serve the unexpired term of Randall Colano of Southeast Board of Assessment Review to expire on September 30, 2023. So moved.
Can I second for discussion?
Second, that's what this is about. Go.
Okay.
Second for discussion.
Second for discussion.
Go.
I like both of these candidates. We interviewed them very much. I have a concern with a possible conflict of interest. I think a wonderful thing is that we have realtors in these positions often, and that's fantastic because they know what they're doing, they know the market. But my one concern is that is to keep having realtors in these positions, but do we need some kind of limit on, say someone comes in to the Board of Assessment Review and they drop his, he's proved everything, they drop his assessment, and then someone who is a realtor gets their listing 4 months later, not because of anything more than that they liked them, they thought they were great at the Board of Assessment Review and thought they were very professional and want them to list their house. My concern is can this be a conflict of interest, and do we need to address this with some kind of code of ethics? Not to not appoint these people, but is this something we could work on? And I did call Lori, I'm sorry, to talk to her and missed her both days.
Well, the way you just put it, there could be a conflict of interest, possibly. But hopefully, and as we do here, I mean, I've seen town board members, I know I've recused myself in the past on things, and other members of the board was an attorney. They recuse themselves. I think if someone comes in, they know enough. If it comes in after the fact, that you hit the nail on the head with that one, but
Yeah, I'm not talking, I think that that we've had people, Randy and people who were very honorable and probably did have to, at some point, recuse themselves. I assume they would have, and I assume that John would, and if he is appointed. The problem for me is, does that give them a leg up over other realtors in town? And should there be a time limit or some kind of code of ethics that we put in for, that Board of Assessment Review candidates, if they're realtors, would know about ahead of time and could say, ooh, this isn't for me, or, okay, I can live with this just fine. That's what I'm asking.
well, it's kind of a good question. I don't know really how to answer it. I think most people would know if they have a conflict of interest prior to, but after the fact, if they've been appointed to the Board of Assessment Review, they're a local realtor and they go to list their property, they like what they have to offer. I mean, that person may not, I mean, if he doesn't get the listing, that means he couldn't sell the house. There's a lot to, you were in real estate, so you know
But
that.
that's why I'm asking. I mean, it could be perfectly, I'm not saying it's even nefarious or anything's wrong with it. I just think it can look like a potential, it can look like a conflict of interest.
Well-
If people who know the town or are realtors, or, I mean, I think it could be a potential conflict of interest.
If that
or
person
have the
took the
appearance.
listing, I could see your point, but if they go into the real estate firm and he happens to be a real estate broker type thing and, you know, possible sale, I don't have a problem. I think the person would know enough to recuse himself after the fact. If we see something, we can, I don't
No,
know.
and I agree with you on recusing yourself, and I think that's probably never been a problem. I hope it never has. But I'm saying in future, if someone gets business that way because they were on the Board of Assessment Review,
Okay, so
That's
you
what-
want to work on something for the future?
maybe the other board members don't feel this way, and that's fine. We can let it go. I just have I just,
I think we should take it, before we do it, if you don't mind, we'll take the matter at hand tonight and, you know, vote accordingly. But if you want to bring it up in the future, if you want to see if there's something, and ask Will, or something you can
well, I'd
write.
like to see what other towns do too, and I have not done that yet.
Okay.
But I'd really like to hear if
Yeah,
Eric doesn't feel it's a conflict or a potential, or John doesn't, there's no point in me really looking into it, that's all.
There always could be.
I think it's a double-edged sword, because these are the most qualified people for the
Right.
jobs, right? And their expertise, especially in the town, really would be valuable in determining the property values. I don't know, if they get business after the fact, I don't know, definitely before, if they're involved in the property, the sale, that they should recuse themselves. I guess it'd be interesting to know what the assessment, or what Lori thought, yeah, if you,
Also, yeah, and I do think realtors could be the most qualified by far to do this job, so I'm not saying to exclude realtors.
Right.
I don't mean that
Right.
at all.
Hey, Lori.
Hi. So I
Just
didn't get an email or
Lori-
a message, I would have called you back.
Lori, just-
I was
No,
in
I know,
Albany.
you always call me back. You weren't in the
Lori,
other day. and
identify
I called
yourself for the public first.
Oh, sorry, Lori Bell, Southeast Assessor.
Thank you.
So we have a code of ethics for the town.
Right.
It's a 6-year term that's staggered so that no Board of Assessment Review member's term is up in the same year. They can, of course, and do recuse themselves. Over the 20-plus years I've been in the office, we've had appraisers, residential real estate agents and brokers, and commercial real estate agents and brokers. Especially, so Mr. McCardle that is up currently before you, he is a commercial banker.
Right, I knew that.
Okay, and John
We're not going to be
Piazza.
specific. Don't be specific.
Well, no, I'm just saying, and so then you have a commercial real estate broker who, I mean, the opportunities for them to be listing something in the town are far and few between because properties don't turn over that quickly. And since it is a 6-year term, I would have to imagine that if a listing opportunity came up for one of those 5 individuals on my board, which again, the statistics are not in their favor, they would refer it out. It's just easier to say, Eric, you know what, you're in my office, I'll give you the listing, you deal with it. I'm on the board, I can't. So that's what I would have said to you had we chatted.
Right. I still have my concerns. I understand what
I-
you mean.
I get it,
And
but
the
like-
realtors have a very strict code of ethics, too. So-
Very strict, as do the appraisers.
Right.
So, yeah, you've got basically 3 layers of code of ethics, and like I said, the 6-year term, I think, makes a difference. If it was a 1-year term, you could say, oh, you know what, so you're done with grievance this year, but call me later and I'll list your house for you.
Right.
But I don't see that happening.
Lori, are there any other realtors on the board currently? I know there's been some in the past.
Wendy Lewis
Yeah.
is a real estate agent. Barbara Bashirs is a real estate appraiser, and Ellie McCaughey is a retired appraiser.
Yeah. So Lynn, I agree that maybe we should look into it. For me personally, I'm okay passing these tonight, knowing that there's other people on the board that are qualified in assessment, and if there was...
Market values.
Yeah, so I think I'm okay with it because of that, but maybe we should still, I'd be okay with looking into it for the future.
And if I could, just as a frame of reference, and I don't know that this is going to sway you either way, just a history of the other town grievance board members that I've had. I've had a commercial real estate agent in the past. I've had other real estate agents, part-time assessors in other towns, other real estate appraisers. So I think the town has been very fortunate in the quality of people that have come forward to serve on that board, which is a very small period of time in any given year, and it's not like a planning board or a zoning board where they meet, you know, like every month or twice a month or anything like that. So like I said.
It's not that I have a problem appointing these 2 tonight. I don't. I just thought, because also, if, let's say we pass something draconian, which clearly we're not going to, in the future, that people could resign from the board if they felt it was just not viable or workable, or
Right.
talk to us and say, you know, you really should change this. It just doesn't work for us.
Correct.
So-
If, like, for example, one of the people that's currently on the board now was on the board 20 years ago.
Right.
And for various reasons, business and family, she took a step back, resigned from the board, and only recently, with life changes, does she now have the time that she feels she can devote to the board again. So, yeah, I think it does change over time, people's opportunities for dedication to the town.
And I'm certainly not questioning either of the 2 candidates, because I thought both of them were good.
If you would be more comfortable putting this off until July 11th, that's fine, because I just need I need somebody else on my board before September 30th.
No, I don't have a problem with these candidates at all.
Okay.
I can work on this if the board thinks I should just look into it, and if it ends up a moot point, if we end up enacting something, everyone on the Board of Assessment Review would be included, and so they would know whether it's draconian and they want to quit, or it's...
And they have to
works, or-
sign the
Right.
town's code of ethics,
ethics, right.
as well as do all of the training that we have for all the other employees. So I think if you reviewed the language that's in the town's code of ethics, I think that might
Might
cover your
cover it.
concern.
I will read
There is
that, too.
something in there about competing for business within the town while you're an employee or something along those lines.
There is.
And board members that you have now, assessment review board members, are any of them practicing in our town or have business in our town?
So the one agent that is active, she's based out of Katona,
Okay,
and I don't know whether or not she has listings in the town. I would have to look.
okay,
The appraiser that's on the board now, she lives in Brewster, but she covers multiple counties throughout New York State. And in the past, I know if she had done work on a particular property that was before the board, she would recuse herself.
and are either of them principals in the companies that they work?
The appraiser, she's a sole practitioner, so she's it. She is the company. The other one is just an agent, not a broker.
Okay,
And
Thank you.
just for the record, one of the appraisers, the town has actually used, and she's on the Board of Assessment Review. We put it out to bid, and she was the lowest bidder.
Right.
So,
She's been in the business like 30-some-odd years.
so we went with her. I didn't find it to be a conflict in any way. I mean, it was fair and square, put out the bid, and
No,
she won
it's
the
put
bid.
out to bid, of course.
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Oh, yep, thank you.
Thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
Okay. On the motion, is there any, all in favor? Oh,
What is the
we
motion?
each-
Yeah.
No, Peter, we don't let public comment normally. We let Lori do it because she's the assessor. We broke the rules, but husbands don't fly, sorry. Okay. I made the motion,
To,
We seconded for discussion.
okay? So
Discussion.
that's now, it's on the vote. All in
Okay.
favor?
Do you want to read it?
Did we do it?
No, you didn't read it. Or did you? And I
Yeah, he
missed
did.
it?
Yeah, how
Oh,
did we
you
get to the
did.
second? Say
Okay.
you get
Oh,
to
not to the
second.
second. Okay. Yes.
All in favor?
so this is for
Ricardo,
McCarty.
McCardle.
okay?
Okay.
Okay, number 6, resolution Board of Assessment Review, position appointment to fill unexpired term Piazza. Now therefore be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Southeast here appoints John Piazza to serve an unexpired term of the Southeast Board of Assessment Review to expire on September 30, 2021, and be further resolved, the appointment shall take effect immediately upon filing the appropriate oath of office and clerk of the Town of Southeast. So move for discussion.
I'll second.
And again, just for the record, the previous one was 2023, and this one is 2021, and each one has, like Lori said, a staggering term to, one, make sure the board is never void like we have here, where too many people go at once, and that's, discussion,
Roll call, please.
roll call?
Councilman Alvarez is absent. Councilwoman Eckhart?
Yes.
Councilman Larker?
Yes.
Councilman Lord?
No.
And Supervisor Hay?
Yes. Passes 3-1. Okay, Supervisor's Financial Report. Okay, things are good. I know, Lynn, you don't like to hear that, because no, they would never talk about the budget when you sat out there. You always want to know, how are things going? Well, now you're sitting here, and guess what? Things are going good. Is it you?
Of course.
It's only getting better.
You notice how much
No, I
credit
give
she
you
gives me?
all, I always have given you credit on
Yeah.
this, Tony.
Uh-huh,
Always. It's not me.
But at any rate, I mean, the budget's good. We kind of watch our pennies, sometimes a half pennies when it comes to you. But there's really not much to report. Again, we still have the problem with the courts, with the revenues. They're off a bunch. I'll have to address that in next year's budget. But other than that, when you have a good budget and you can stick with it, things are good. So, I mean, they're not, let's see, they're not great, let's put that. But we have a budget and we're sticking to it. We're not over a bunch, we're not under a bunch, and we're still saving money and buying everything we need for the town to make it what it needs to be. Happy?
I am.
Okay. Okay. Public comment. Seeing none, town board comment.
Yes, first I'd like to thank Assemblyman Byrne, who was in touch with me, and I'm sure Pete Hargum, Senator Hargum. The Extreme Winter Recovery Act was put back into the New York State budget, which will give us $29,961, or somewhere in that range, will be restored for the town of Southeast, so that is good news. I'm not sure if that was last year's rate. I'm not sure what this will be this year, but it's money that hopefully I know we can use. So, also today, I went to a NYSEG meeting. The good news is there are a lot less outages. They've been working hard on that. The bad news is there is going to be a large rate increase. But the rate increase is an 11-month process. There will be public hearings that will be scheduled. There will be opportunities for comments and letters to the Public Service Commission. But basically, what I have in writing, although I was told it would be higher, is your bill will be going up 13.5% if you're in NYSEG territory, which I believe we all are. So if it said the average bill for customers using 600 kilowatt hours, and I was like, really, you have to give that to me in English. And they couldn't, but they said that's around a $60+ bill a month is their average, which surprised me. I would think it would be higher, would go up $10.20. They were talking about a 20% increase as well. Gas will go up, but that will be a much lower, that will be, the monthly average bill will increase for gas $1.03, so that's a lot lower. But if they are trying to do a lot more work, it's cost them money, and thus our rates are going to go up. So please be involved if this is something you really care about. I think you could probably go on their website and get any information, and I will try to, I have this presentation, which I'll make sure the board gets, so you can see what they're doing with your hard-earned dollars. But anticipate that it won't be for about a year, but that your rates are going to go up. So they also discussed, by the way, the automatic meters, which will be a big savings, and that I think does figure into this as well. So that was it took 2 hours to tell us that it was going to go up this amount. Okay? It's not okay, but that's what's going to happen, so.
I like it when you give the bad news.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to get blamed for this, but.
John, anything?
Yeah, I went to the Empire State Maybrook Trailway. They had a meeting last week at the
Tops building?
Tops Building in Carmel. And the Maybrook Trail will be connecting the old New Haven tracks from the town park all the way up to Hopewell. It's about 23 miles. And they're looking to have it completed by March of '21. The section from the Tenetta Lake Park up to 164, that's expected to be finished by next March. So it looks like we're going to be having some recreation activities for hiking and bike riding along the Great Swamp. So it's pretty exciting. The section from Putnam Avenue over to the Maybrook Trail over by Kobackers, that has run into some issues. They have some large bridge spans to go over the Metro-North tracks, but in order to put those spans in, they need to have footings that go down 75 feet. And it's wetlands there, and the contractor does not have the equipment that can go that deep. They're afraid that any machinery that they put in will sink into the ground. It needs to be that heavy. So they're looking at different engineering to put in micro piles, which will be more footprints, and they are hopeful that that's not going to cost as much as they were going to expend for the 75-foot deep footings. They need to get this done, I think, in 18 months in order to get the money, get the funding. But Putnam County Planning is taking care of this part, and John Pillner at Putnam County Planning let us know this. So good news as far as going north on the old New Haven line, but can't get over to Kobackers yet, so that's disappointing. But thanks.
Eric?
I have no comment.
Okay, just briefly, Eric, Edwin's not here this evening. He puts a lot of effort into the fireworks, which will be happening this coming Saturday. The rain date's the following Saturday, this Saturday. Sunday?
It's the 30th.
June, is that June 30th?
Yes, Sunday.
Yes.
Okay,
Sunday.
Sunday. Is it the following Sunday is the rain date then?
I don't know when the rain
No.
is.
No. Maybe we should make a public announcement. Anyway, let's hope it doesn't rain. Okay, so Sunday, June 30th, as soon as it gets dusk, and that's up at the, what do they call that shopping center? I always call it Kohl's and, what is it?
Home Depot.
Highlands?
Highlands.
Highlands?
Yes.
Okay, Highland Shopping Center, Home Depot. What's
Yeah.
Sunday, June 30th, or rain date is Sunday, July 7th.
Okay,
And it's at the Highland Shopping Center, Independent Way.
band starts at 7:30 and the fireworks start at 9:30. I go to bed at 9, so I'll miss it, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion to go back into the regular meeting for a second, because we have to do the public hearing, and we actually didn't do it officially. So I'll make a motion to go back into the regular meeting for a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, on set a public hearing to amend Chapter 138 and 54 time limits of the ZBA, and we'll set that for July 11th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With that, make a motion to close.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming, and have a good holiday.